Good evening, everybody, or good morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. It is episode 69.
Nice.
Episode 69 of For Future Generations. It is the 28th of June, and boy, oh boy, has it been a busy week for a lot of us, I bet. I mean, school is out, summer's in full swing, the weather is gorgeous, and I was seeing on the timeline this week, Idaho, despite it being late June, Idaho had ice storm flooding. There were neighborhoods with floods flowing down the roadways with icebergs in them. It was awful, but a very interesting summer storm. We didn't have that here, but we have had unseasonable rain. So God's having fun with the weather patterns this year. But I am Geoffrey. I am joined, as always, by my friend Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm doing much better now that we're on the other side of the NHL draft. I know that nobody cares, but I have to make sure that I rep my team over here. I always got our one Western Conference banner in the back there. Just 3 years from now, when the boys are hoisting the Stanley Cup this time of year, I won't be called a bandwagon fan because I was there on the ground floor, man.
Yeah. So I don't know much about hockey, but I do love hockey. I just don't have the time to watch it. But it is one of the last masculine sports, you know.
I was telling you in the chat, the Sharks drafted this year a guy. He probably won't make the NHL, but they drafted a guy who is 7 feet 1 inch tall. Without skates.
7 feet wasn't good enough. He's 7'1", barefoot on the ground.
Yes. Insane. I didn't even know humans got that big without being unable to walk.
Yeah, having the weird crutches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the tallest person I've ever met in real life was a guy who was, I think he was 6'8". So I'm 6'1", and I don't particularly feel tall. You know, I don't wake up in the morning and hit the floor and I'm like, oh, I'm a tall guy. I just feel normal. But this dude, I was shopping at Academy and this dude was right behind me, and he was 6'8", and he was not built. He was a beanpole. He was tall, skinny. And of course you ask him the one thing that he gets asked every day, which is,
how's the weather up there?
Well, yeah, I didn't ask him that, but I have a feeling he would have gotten sick of that pretty quick. But I asked him, do you play basketball?
Yeah.
Which, of course, you meet a guy who's 6'8", you ask him, do you play basketball? And he said, no, he played volleyball.
Oh, well, I guess volleyball makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Apples, oranges, but same difference. But this guy made me feel like a midget. I mean, I was... all 6 foot.
I was actually surprised.
I felt small.
The guy that the Sharks drafted at number 2, he was like the guy. That was the guy I was worried they weren't going to draft, and they did. His name's Ivar Stenberg, and he's only 5'11".
Really?
So I was like, man, that dude's only an inch taller than me because I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
I am medium regular everything. In the Army, my that's literally because there's medium long or large long or short or whatever. Mm-hmm. Medium regular. Interesting comments already coming in. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go to our sponsor then.
Let's see. We can go ahead and boom. Goodbye. So he's gone. But with that said, let's go to our sponsor. So our sponsor, folks, for those of you who've not been paying attention, we have a sponsor on the show, and that sponsor is Deus Vult Lapel Pins. And Deus Vult Lapel Pins, thank you very much for sponsoring the show. He sends us beautiful lapel pins. I mean, this guy makes these things. They're fantastic. I've got the Maltese cross here, part of my heritage, and I love to honor it that way. And I'm a big fan. But he's also got lots of other cool stuff. I mean, we did the White Boy Summer show last week, and he's got the White Boy Summer pins.
Yeah,
fantastic.
He puts them on these cool cards. This is
he does
51. This is the card that has the pin on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Showed
And
my
then Heritage American has a scene from
yeah.
And the cards are really, really cool. All of his church calendar pins come on this one with the the King of Jerusalem, and got them in all the different colors. Fantastic stuff. And of course the Lone Bulwark pin. Gotta have one of those. And there is the man saying the unpopular opinion. This is one of my favorites, the Texas Blue, the Bonnie Blue, and it has, "We are a band of brothers and native to the soil, fighting for our liberty with treasure, blood, and toil. And when our rights were threatened, the cry rose near and far, hurrah for the Bonnie Blue flag that bears a single star." So fantastic. And then let's see, that's looks like that's all I've got right here in front of me. Of course, I'm a Baptist, so I've got 1689 pin, but yeah, very cool stuff. And if you visit the website, you can see the things that he's making, the stuff that he's got in stock here. We've got "Lee Will Be Avenged," the glow-in-the-dark face, the mask of Robert E. Lee that was melted down, and the based states. The based states are coming, folks. North Carolina is in production. It is available if you want to get it. If you are in a state that is not North Carolina, come down here. Click on the button to join the priority wait list.
They've even got California on there.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if we finally got Christ over California again. I mean, that was a bad loss. But if you're from Texas, come click on this. If you're from Florida, the beautiful sunny state of Florida, click here, join the priority wait list. He needs a certain number of people to click that button, or else they won't go into production. So if you see it and you want it, not only do you need to click it, guys, but you need to get your friends and relations to be interested enough to sign up as well. We've got the Lone Bulwark 2.0 with the St. Andrew's Cross, the rebel flag. Beautiful stuff. And we've got a Jerusalem cross with camouflage. If you're in the army, if you want to, show that Christ is king over the military, over the armed forces, or if you're just an outdoorsy kind of guy. Holy Roman Empire, the Protestant orange flag. Now, in a previous show, I mentioned that I did not know what this was all about. I mean, I had a feeling it had something to do with, William and Mary, and the glorious, or is it the Glorious Revolution? I forget which one what they called it, but this is actually an Ulster Protestant symbol, this orange flag with the blue star. So England up in the corner, big orange flag with a blue star. That is Ulster Protestantism, which very big fan of that. So get that if you're into that. If you're in the Reformed Episcopal Church, here is your denominational pin. Remember, he has denominational pins as well. So stickers, guys, get stickers, put them on your rides, pimp your ride. Evidently, the Missouri one was the most popular because it went out of stock first. So, guys, Texas boys, you need to show these guys up and put those stickers on your trucks. So very, very cool stuff. Go browse the website, browse the catalog, and don't forget to use our 10% off code at checkout. That's FFGDV26. The link is in the description. So if you are interested, you can find it there. Thank you, Deus Volt Lapel Pins, for sponsoring the show, and thank you for being a loyal listener. And I am going to pop over to YouTube real quick. So, Sean, can you hem and haw a little bit while I check and make sure this guy got banned?
He's not posting anymore, so...
Yeah. I banned him on the StreamYards side, but I don't know if that works on YouTube. It looks like it did, yeah.
So the guy, here would be my hem and haw. He was basically like, Jesus hates every word that you guys are saying, which is crazy because I was just talking about hockey at the time.
Jesus hates hockey. Yeah, got it. Man. I mean, his next comment was bizarre. He said, Jesus has given me his dove. And I'm like, what in the world kind of nonsense
something weird like
this?
that.
But
maybe Jesus doesn't like hockey in New Jersey.
But, maybe it's just your team. Have you considered that? Maybe it's your team he doesn't like.
Yeah.
But let's get into comments real quick. Jeff Haffey says, good evening, Jeff. Good to see you. Glad to have you along. Yellow Moth says, I'm on time. Well, Yellow Moth, that's easy to do when we're late. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, that was my bad. I I had company, and I ushered them out the door at the very last moment, and I still ended up being a bit late. So monopolegatus, mea culpa, mea maxima, maxima culpa. Yellow Moss says, I was in the middle of reading that when you deleted it. Well, I'm sorry. It was not worth reading. You didn't miss anything. Jeff Halfley, they were saying that Jeff and Sean should be sent to Israel for mandatory re-education and restorative enemas.
That's true, actually.
That's about right. Yeah. And
some of that Dead Sea salt water straight up the
from what I understand, they put salty things up there, but it's not water. But Yellow Moss says, I can't wait for them to get their free trip to Israel. Yeah, I mean, if that happens, it's going to be against our wishes. It's going to be compulsory, I suppose.
I mean, I'd take a free trip to Israel.
Hey, I would take a free trip to Israel.
I took a partially paid trip to Israel. Like I had to still pay like $400 or something like that. But
hey, that's not bad. I mean, that's
Israel's dope.
Barely covering your tickets.
The land itself is dope. It's weird to me when people are just like, I would never go to Israel. Like, dude, let's put a trip to Israel in perspective. Like, I know some people go there so they can kiss walls and whatever, but the God of all the universe took on flesh, and the one place that he chose to live was this tiny little place. Like, he didn't go any further than this in his whole life, and it was this one little piece of land out in Israel. Like, he lived on a lake. He had like a lake house where he went fishing. Like, if you don't want to go and visit that, I don't know what you're doing. Like, if you're reading the Old Testament and you're just like, I don't even care. Yeah, I know Yellow Moth, he went to Egypt for a very short amount of time. His entire ministry was like walking distance. It was literally all walking distance.
I mean, he probably walked the entire thing too. I mean, his trip.
Well, yeah, he didn't drive.
I mean, his trip to Egypt was probably on foot. That's how a lot of people throughout all of history just got around.
Yeah. Anyways, my point being, like everything you read is in this one little in the Bible is in this one little piece of land. Why would you not want to see that? Like that blows my mind when people try to let modern politics keep them from wanting to see the land where Jesus walked. Why would you not want to see that? I don't understand it.
Or on the other hand, you have people that are, what does Athens have to do with Jerusalem? Oh, well, we don't need to. We shouldn't care about Jerusalem. It's not our thing anymore. We don't care. And I care. It's called the Holy Land for a reason.
Yeah, we're taking it back, guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you know this, but we are.
Yeah.
Athens is actually the only other place that I'd really like to go see in the world that I haven't seen already.
Mm-hmm. Well, so. I have I've been to Italy and France and a lot of Western European countries because that's where I grew up. But on my list of places to go, I'd love to go to Egypt. I'd love to see the Valley of the Kings, and of course, the pyramids. You can't go and not see the pyramids, but especially the Valley of the Kings. I'd love to see Jerusalem. I'd love to see what I believe quite strongly. I think we have the place of David's burial. And I mean, there's even a plaque right there that says, yeah, this is the grave of David. So I'd like to see that.
There's not really anything to see at the grave of David, dude. It's just...
It's a hole in the ground.
Jews reading and praying in front of it. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
But there's a couple of places I'd like to see. And then there's the Aztec, or really the Mayan stuff in South America. I'd love to see the Mayan temples in South America. So, maybe if this show takes off and there's a bunch of people like, hey, we want to fund a trip, and we get enough people who want to support and go on a trip somewhere, maybe we can make that happen at some point. But in the meantime, I will satiate myself with...
If there's any Palestinians watching and you want to get a free trip out there.
Yeah. Or any tour guides who want to, help us put something together and cut us a nice deal. Yeah. but it'll have to be a very nice deal because we are wages. Yeah. But anyhow, fun stuff happened. Some interesting stuff happened this week, and we will get to the topic, but there were a few things we wanted to talk about first, which is there was a Louisiana pastor who just beat the absolute snot out of a kid, and I wanted to talk about this a bit. So Colin Rugg posted this. It's a good synopsis. I don't follow him. I don't know who he is, but it ran across my timeline. Louisiana pastor beats up a man who allegedly threatened to sexually molest and kill his wife and children. Pastor Tony Spell of Life Tabernacle Church says he was working on a church bus when the neighbor's son started shouting at him. Spell said it's his job as the natural protector to protect his church and family. The guy said, Tony, I'm going to rape your wife. I'm going to rape all your grandchildren. Then he said, the next time you go out of town, I'm going to kill them. What the F are you going to do about it? And the neighbors, which is the people, the Sherwin family, claim Spell is not telling the truth. But during a press conference, Spell was backed by members of his church who say they've made multiple complaints about the Sherwin family to police. And evidently, the backstory is that the police don't like the church and that they are friends with this family. So the pastor got arrested. But let's watch this video, just kind of see what happens. There's not really any relevant sound, so I'll turn it off. But so the pastor runs across the street. This kid's yelling at him with his phone. Kid throws the first punch. Pastor was walking towards him. Kid throws a punch. Crocs came off. Phone went down. The pastor's hammer fisting the guy's face right in the jaw. Flips him over. Puts him on the ground. Takes the back and then just elbow to the head. And then hammer fist on the head. Just bam, bam, bam. Throws the phone. Keeps going. Hammer fist. Just absolutely wailing on this retarded kid.
Oh, man.
So he pulls him up, tries to twist his head. He's gouging his eyes, hammer fisting his nose, pulling his hair. Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, I
didn't watch it past this part. I didn't realize he kept going for this long.
Kid's keeping on kicking, and he's just keeping on hammering on him. Then he stands up, pulls his hair a little bit, gives him a nice solid kick, and then the kid runs away, and he walks back across the street. So the entire confrontation happened in about 1 minute. The story is that the kid then was hospitalized, had to have stitches. So, I mean, it didn't look like that brutal of a fight, but they said the kid got stitches. So, I mean, and I keep saying kid. For those listening, this is a fully grown adult man. This is not, some punk teenager. This is a young man with a beard who's yelling at this man that he's going to rape his wife and children and murder them. And he goes over and just beats that ever-living snot out of him. And you know what? I have to say, good for him. Good for him. I mean, if you're going to talk to people like that, you should get beat up. You should probably have to get stitches. In no uncertain terms, let me say this, you deserved it. All right? You deserve it. So,
I have a story. I grew up knowing this. Hold on. I grew up knowing this story. I've talked about it on the show before. I used to do karate, and the guy who was, and probably still is, I haven't kept up with this in decades. The guy who was the very top dog, the guy who was like the keeper of the knowledge at the highest level of this system. He, when he was younger, this guy came up to his car when he had his wife and kid in the car. And then he basically said the same things. It was here. I'm going to murder you. And then I'm going to murder your wife and your kid and blah, blah, blah. And so he got out and broke the dude's nose and then shoved it up into his brain and killed him.
Wow.
On the spot. Yeah. And the cops were like, dude, did you have to do that? And he was like, well, he said he was going to do it. I took the man at his word. I mean, he never got convicted or anything. It was like, dude, he came up to me saying he was going to kill me. Like, what do you want me to hope that's not true? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was the right thing to do in my eyes. And so, like, I kind of already had, when I heard this story and I saw the video, that was the first thing I thought of was like, man, remember that time Dashafu like killed that dude because he came up to his car, and I've kind of it's one of those situations where you should make the decision about the decision before you have to make a decision. So have it already in your head. If it comes to that, I have to do what I have to do. Not
you need to be willing.
I don't know. Did he use the exact words that would justify me? Blah blah blah. I mean, you have to think those things through before it's go time.
Now there was a take from this individual, Devin Erickson. Now I don't know who Devin Erickson is, but I follow him on Twitter, and he's evidently very popular. He's got a lot of good takes. 121,000 followers. Good for him. Buchanan Brigade follows him, so he's evidently our guy, But he says there are certain philosophical principles that destroy any high-level civilization which holds them. One of them is the idea that human life isn't precious, but the other is that human life is so precious that no attack on property, reputation, trust, or peace of mind can ever justify violent retaliation. In other words, any society where there's no such thing as fighting words is doomed. Why? Because the moment you place violence off limits, then people who wish to harm others, who take joy in harming others, have now been given a free pass to do so in absolute safety. If all of your property is worth less than a hair on my head, then I can steal or destroy all of your property because you cannot stop me without harming a hair on my head. If your entire reputation is worth less than a hair on my head, then I can dedicate my life to slandering and character assassinating you because you cannot stop me without harming a hair on my head. If all of your peace of mind is worth less than a hair on my head, then I can terrorize you night and day because you cannot stop me without harming a hair on my head. If all of your trust is worth less than a hair on my head, then I can betray that trust over and over again until no one trusts anyone because you cannot stop me without harming a hair on my head. And if I can destroy all these things, then enough people like me can destroy civilization itself because civilization is made of property, peace, trust, and reputation. Why are there no civilizations without violence? Because without violence, there is no civilization. And he's exactly right. This is in response to the pastor being bonded out and giving, we'll go ahead and play this video, but he gives his reasoning for why he did what he did.
When you threaten to rape my wife, when you threaten to rape my grandchildren, and the next time you leave, go out of town, I'm going to kill every one of them. As a man, as a father, and as a pastor, I can't allow that.
So yeah, just straightforward. As a man, as a pastor, as a father, I cannot allow that. And you know what? That's a very interesting ellipses in there. As a pastor, I cannot allow that. If you guys, I want you to think about something real quick. Think about your pastor. Think about who he is. And if your pastor is not willing to put the wallop on somebody, I'm not saying if he's too old and he's not capable. I'm saying if he's not willing to put the wallop on somebody for absolutely getting out of hand like this, you need a new church. Because that man's not capable of leading men. And a pastor, at the end of the day, is a leader of men. And women can't lead men. Women of either sex cannot lead men. If your pastor cannot lead men, do not follow him. So that's my big take on this. It ran across Twitter, and after a bit, some people were pointing out, well, he's not actually a Christian because this guy is a oneness Pentecostal, and that is a damnable heresy. I'm afraid to say this man is not a Christian pastor. But how shameful is it that the heretics seem to have better theology than your proper high-born Presbyterian denominations? I mean, can you imagine anybody from the PC USA or the PCA doing this? I mean, I know some PCA pastors who would absolutely do this, and they're real men. And there's one friend I have who's a PCA pastor, Phil Lovelady, who he's a man. And not only would he put the wallop on somebody, I'm sure he's done it before. and I'm sure he'd be willing to do it again. And you know what? I would follow that man because he's a real man. My pastor is a rancher. He's a hard man, and he's absolutely willing to throw down if it comes to it. But at the same time, don't follow a pastor who just flies off the handle, starts screaming at people for no apparent reason, because that is also not a real man. That is not a man who is in control of his own faculties, and a man who can't control himself cannot control, he cannot lead other men either. So there's a fine balance here. There's good things to be learned here, but this is an example of a man, I believe, doing absolutely the right thing. This is not uncalled for. If somebody is threatening your family, if somebody is threatening your livelihood, you absolutely should get involved. So good to see. Glad to see some spine in people every once in a while. It gives hope for our future. Maybe there are men out there who can actually lead, who can maybe, just maybe,
I wanted to say one thing on when you were talking about that guy's Twitter post where he was talking about the value of life, like valuing life too high. Thomas Sowell is someone I greatly admire. These days I don't agree with him on everything, but just a guy I like to watch every now and then, listen to. He has a rant, I guess, where about the phrase, if it saves one life, because so much of liberalism is based off of of just that. If it saves one life,
if it just saves one life,
yeah, we have to save that one life. But that's not true. The one person's life is not of infinite value. It has value, but it's not like this infinite thing, insofar that we have to ban automobiles because it could save one life, and it would actually, if you would save lives if you just banned automobiles. Life would be much worse. Ironically, a bunch of people would probably starve as a result, and then you'd end up killing more people. But you have to get that thinking out of your vocabulary, that if it saves one life. Because that's not what it means to be pro-life. People will, say crazy things like, I'll just say anti-abortion to kind of because you and I know there's distinctions between like abolitionist or I'm pro-life or I'm incrementalist, whatever. But just all people who are against the murder of children in the womb. There's a saying, or this idea, it's a straw man that the left will throw at us, this, they'd step over a homeless person in order to save a 4-cell zygote, something crazy like that, right? Again, one life is not of like infinite worth. Like, I don't have to stop, like every time I see a homeless guy, I don't need to just slam the brakes and, oh my goodness, I better make sure this dude has all the food until the next person slams their brakes and gives them food. Like, it's not a good way of thinking. And so when a guy comes up to you and he says, hey, I'm going to do violence to you and all this, don't do the John Piper thing where, well, I guess this is it then. I guess me and everyone I'm responsible for is about to die and or be violated in some capacity. It's just, what kind of way of thinking is that? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's irresponsible also. I mean, God put life into your care, and you are more responsible for the people under your care, the people in your household, than you are for the people elsewhere, right? It's the ordo amoris, right? We talk about this, where you hold more responsibility for your own family, your own children, your own parents, than you do for the people in your church. And you hold more responsibility for the people in your church than the people more broadly in your town. And you are more responsible for the people in your town than the people in your state. And it's ever growing, ever outward. And, if you get that out of focus, you end up with mission boards that send millions and millions of dollars overseas and never seemingly help anybody in their own communities. And that's a problem.
Another problem is, this kind of comes out of the what would Jesus do movement. If you're an old head like me, you probably remember people wearing these bracelets. It was bracelets originally, and it would just say WWJD, what would Jesus do? And the idea was you're reaching to steal something, and then you're like, no, but the bracelet, what would Jesus do? Jesus wouldn't steal that. Jesus wouldn't take the showbread.
Jesus wouldn't steal a car. Jesus wouldn't steal a TV.
Jesus wouldn't download a car. Right. Jesus wouldn't download a barrel of wine.
Just as a slight aside, I always, after a while, it occurred to me, one of the things Jesus did do is he did take a whip to people. That's one of the things people have been talking about with his pastors. Well, maybe he was being too violent. And what would Jesus have done? And I did have to remind a couple of online women that Jesus did put the hurt on some people. He was not opposed to that.
Yeah.
But you were saying about that.
So, I totally derailed that. But when Jesus, people would say, well, Jesus was willing to die for others, right? Mm-hmm. You being raped and murdered does not save anyone's life in any capacity, right? When Jesus says in John 10, when he's doing the great shepherd, or the good shepherd discourse, I guess you can call it. It's like the entirety of the chapter. He says, I lay down my life for my sheep. He is saving someone by laying his life down. He's not just, oh, it's cool, I'm just going to be passive about being crucified. The crucifixion itself was him laying his life down for the life of others. That's a different thing. That would be like if this guy went and attacked this the man that was like, hey, I'm going to kill you and your family, and then in the midst of that he was killed, right? That's what that is. He's laying his life down. Or the what's become kind of a meme at this point is the every man dreams of saying, go ahead, I'm going to stay back and keep him. I don't remember the exact verbiage of it. Like I'm going to hold him back while you get away or something like that. And it's just like the dude with a cigarette and a gun, and he's just sitting there waiting. Like that's laying your life down for others. That's violence on behalf of the peace of others. That's why Christians aren't pacifists. That's why Christians can join the military if they want. I remember now I'm getting in my rant mode. When I was in basic training, right, I show up, and that first couple days or whatever is like in processing. So you haven't even started day one of basic training. You haven't even gotten to the point where they like throw your duffel bags off and yell at you and all that. I mean, they're yelling at you, but you're still just doing kind of paperwork and stuff, like getting your shots, all that kind of stuff. This drill sergeant, we're sitting like the first night that I'm there. There's kind of a small group of us, and he's like, why'd you join? Like, we're killing time. Like, we're waiting for our turn to be able to do something. It's like a platoon of us. And this drill sergeant's like, hey, why'd you join the Army? And they stand up. Because the United States has given me so much, and I wanted to give something back. He's like, United States haven't given you whatever, like, give me a place to live. You can live wherever. You don't need the United States to give you a place to live. Your parents gave you a place to live, idiot. Like, it's like a whole,
like,
you're trying
to wear you down. Yeah.
Well, I want to go to college. You could have taken out a loan, idiot. What are you doing? Like, like just crazy. They're trying to tear everyone down. And then he points at me and he's like, so what's your excuse? Doesn't even ask, why'd you join the Army? It's just, at this point, you know what the question is, right? What's your excuse? Stand up, parade rest, all that. And I said, I'm going to fulfill my purpose in life, was the way that I say. He's like, what does that mean, right? At the time, I was going to use the GI Bill to essentially become a pastor. Like I did the schooling part of it, but I was like, well, I'm going to be I'm going to use the GI Bill. I'm going to be a pastor, right? And he's kind of like doing one of these faces, and he's like, so you're telling me you're going to kill people so that you could be a pastor? I was like, well, I mean, David killed a bunch of people, and he was a man after God's own heart. And he was like, that's over my head. What's your excuse?
Moving on.
I was the one guy that had an answer. I was so proud of myself for that. But that stuck with me because
you were so real for that.
Yeah, it was like, bro, you have no idea how many people David killed. He literally gave a bag of foreskins to a guy because he was told to. Because
he thought his daughter was hot. Yeah.
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 Can I marry your daughter? Only if you kill and cut foreskins off of, like, what was it, 40 guys? Or what was the number? It was some ridiculous.
It was a couple hundred, I thought. Yeah, it was.
I don't remember. But dude,
it was like he asked for 100 and he brought him 500 or something crazy like that. Yeah.
There's a live action, like, 1st and 2nd Samuel movie, or it's like a series, right? And like Leonard Nimoy is Samuel, and he just does a fantastic job. And like the guy that's the guy that's King Saul is another just amazing actor. He's a famous actor. So like it's a star-studded thing. And anyways, I brought it up because in that scene there's or the scene where David brings the foreskins, like they do it brilliant because like it cuts to King Saul. He's just kind of sitting there, and then like just a wet bag just lands on the table like in front of him. He's like he's like, what? Like, it's hilarious, dude. Like it's just like splat. Like, oh my goodness. There you go.
I mean, that's flesh and blood right there. Yeah, I just looked it up. It was 100 foreskins, and David brought 200.
So yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, okay.
That's a lot of dudes. That's a lot of dudes. And for those who are doing the math, one man only has one. So
yeah, one. Yeah.
So, ideally. Yeah. he found the one Philistine with 2.
So anyways.
Yeah.
You too can be a man after God's own heart if you cut off the foreskins of 200 men.
Mm-hmm. All right. So there was another thing, speaking of manliness and absolute faggotry, there was this post on Twitter today, and this is a screenshot from C.R. Wiley kind of saying something, and then Jay Antello, who I don't know, but we have mutuals who like him. But I'll start with the quote, and then I'll go to what I have to say about it. C.R. Wiley says, "One cannot but wonder if worries about ethno-nationalism apply to all countries or only Western nations." And this is something that, lots of people have been wondering, why is it that white countries seem to be the only people who aren't allowed to have an ethnicity? England can't be for the English. They have to import all of the empire. They have to import every Hindustani, every Jaipur, every poop smearing foreigner into London. But, why is it that we aren't allowed to have that? But countries like China can have a Han majority, and they can seek the welfare of the Han people. Japan can have a Japanese country for the Japanese. And, nobody talks about Thailand. Thailand, has multiple ethnicities, but they are primarily for the Thai people. And why is there this double standard? Well, Jay Antello tells us why. He says, Christian nations, asterisk. If Japan were predominantly Christian and or had a Christian past, and I lived in Japan, I'd be arguing against the idea that the only true Japanese are those who are Japanese by blood. So Jay Antello says it's okay to be Japanese. It's okay to have an ethno-nation. It's okay to have a country if you're a pagan. But as soon as you become a Christian, you have written off your right to have a nation. You are not allowed to do that anymore. Bad you. Now that you're a Christian, you must self-flagellate. You must absolutely destroy your children and your heritage. just absolutely bizarre. And going to say something there, Sean?
Yeah, the gall of just like when he puts it this way, you kind of get the opposite, the other end of the spectrum. So like there's our side where we're going to say like, man, I really don't want this dude in my country because, he doesn't, well, first of all, he doesn't belong here because he's not of my people. Like we deserve to have a homeland.
Yeah.
But
for us and our posterity does not include this foreigner.
Right. We've talked about that a million, like the reasons for it. Like, for instance, like joining the army, right? When you fight in the army, you're fighting so that what is left behind is going to carry on your bloodline primarily, because ideally you're going to be married, have kids, all that kind of stuff. But then your way of life, all that kind of stuff, your greater bloodline, even if it's not like your direct descendants, right? Like you die without kids, you're still carrying on your blood because you've saved what is back home carrying on your blood. Sisters, cousins, all these people that are related to you. So there's that side of it, right? We don't want you here because you're ruining a good thing. I'll sum it up like that. But then to have the gall of people like that, well, if I lived in Japan, they can't do anything about it. I could live wherever I want and they have to accept me. That's so arrogant. Like, it's like to say it to someone at this like double digit IQ level. That's mean. That's a mean thing to do to somebody. I'm allowed to go into your room and play with your toys and there's nothing you could do about it because I have the same ideals as you. Like that's an insane way to think, that you should just be able to go into this foreign country that is clearly like very foreign. If I'm assuming he's saying that he's Puerto Rican, that's so like other side of the spectrum from Japan. Everything about, I'm not saying this in a negative way necessarily, but like I was in the army with a lot of Puerto Ricans, dude. Like there's a ton of it's gotta be like half the damn island is in the army. They're a very loud culture, right? Like it's very loud. It's fun. It's fun to be part of that, with like the do 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 do. Every song is that do 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 do. So it's fun to dance to and all that, right? But it's not Japanese. Like if you went to Japan and you were playing that, like they probably wouldn't say anything. They would just kind of like all kind of walk around you and do this and maybe adjust their mask and all that kind of stuff. But
hold their nose, yeah.
Yeah. Or if they don't have a mask, they'll do this kind of thing because they don't like foreign smells. You don't have the right to go invade someone's land and then say, I'm just like you guys. What are you going to do about it? That's so arrogant. I don't understand. I just don't understand that way of thinking. Like you're an evil person to think that you could just go into somebody's country and tell them, you can't do anything about me being here. You would be an immoral person if you removed me from this country. That is insane and immoral.
And unchristian. Yeah. And this is my commentary on it. And I chose these words intentionally. Some people might hear this and think, oh, he's anti-Christian. But this is what I said. Judeo-Christianity is the religion of self-destruction. To worship at this altar is to both literally and metaphorically murder one's own children and entire nation. Now, do not misunderstand me. I'm not saying that Christianity is a suicidal religion. I'm saying Judeo-Christianity. And the reason is because, as Ben Shapiro said, anytime you put a modifier on something that is innately good, you have perverted that thing. Judeo-Christianity is not Christianity. And Judaism is a suicidal religion. They literally murdered their own Messiah, and they have been committing suicide ever since. They promote sodomy. They promote abortion as tenets of their religion. If you doubt me, just read their own religious texts. Read their own magazines. Read what they say about themselves. They promote sodomy and abortion as aspects of their religion. They are suicidal. The reason that they have been kicked out of 109 plus countries is not because everybody around the world all at once suddenly just, telepathically communicated, oh, let's all hate Jews. It's because they are self-destructive. And that reaches every society in which they find themselves. And when Christians take on the mantle of Judaism, they absorb that suicidal tendency. That self-destruction becomes part of their zeitgeist, their self-creation, their self-understanding. And we need to reject this. Christianity at no point says that because you became Christian, suddenly you can't have a country. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that just because you became a Christian, you can't have a family, you can't have a house, you can't have nice things, you can't have a country, you can't have a military. These are anti-Christian ideas. They did not arise from Scripture. They did not arise from the teachings of Jesus or his apostles. These are an importation of foreign and ultimately self-destructive mutants who want to destroy everything that you hold dear. So reject the framing. Reject the idea that because you're a Christian, you can't have nice things. That is stupid. It is wrong-headed, and it's a heresy. Okay? The thing that Antello is telling Europeans that they can't have, the thing that he's saying to us is unchristian, and it is a heresy. So before we get into the Jeremy Boring video and the fallout from that, let's hit comments again real quick. Yellow Moth pointed out he went to Egypt. Yeah, we talked about that. Yellow Moth says, I just hope it doesn't get destroyed by bombs. I care about the awesome archaeology. The current occupants, well, talking about the Holy Land. Yeah, I would love to see the Holy Land not destroyed. And, as J.D. Hall pointed out, under the Muslims, the Christians were not living perfectly free, but at least they weren't being massacred, at least not frequently, and at least they still had their churches.
Yeah, we went when I went to Israel, one of the sites we couldn't go to, and I can't remember what it was. It was in the Sea of Galilee. I want to say Capernaum. There was a site up there, but it was closed in the moment because they were cleaning up where some Jewish people went to a Christian holy site. And I want to say it was like maybe something related to Peter, maybe part of Peter's house or something like that. I don't know. It was something like that. And they had spray painted some anti-Christian thing on a Christian holy site, because that's what they do. And they spit at you and they do all that stuff. And it's they don't like you. So I don't like you either.
Yeah. And they are not separated brethren. Yeah. These people they literally worship Satan. Jesus told the Jews of his day, you are of your father, the devil. And the modern Jews are the descendants of those same people, which means they worship Satan. And if you read their holy texts, they literally believe that Satan is an assistant to God. They pray to Satan, among other people. I mean, they are not a what's the word for having one God? Sorry, I'm very tired and I'm
monotheist.
Yeah, they are not a monotheistic religion either. I mean, they're very much pagan. They're very much satanic. Yeah, good points. Yellow Moss says the kid ran his mouth at the pastor and he didn't even put his Crocs in combat mode. That's right. I mean, that's why they came off, right?
We call it 4x4 in our household. For those who don't know, Crocs have you could flip if there's a heel or not, so you can wear it like a sandal. Well, I guess it's a sandal regardless, but you could put a heel thing on it, and it allows you to kind of run.
be
You
able
can
to
actually
run and
run in
stuff.
them if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I mean, don't write checks with your mouth that you can't cash with your fists. All right.
Yeah. With another orifice.
Yeah, don't do that. All right. The other Paul says, hello, gents. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hello there, other Paul. Ah.
And then Sawyer Pedigo says, do you believe in God? Sawyer Pedigo, we believe in the triune God. We believe in the God who made all things. Yeah.
Let me give you the answer that I've prepared for this question. I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible, and one Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, begotten of his Father before all worlds, God of God, light of light, very God of very God, begotten not made, being of one substance with the Father, by whom all things were made, who for us men and for our salvation came down from heaven and was incarnate by the Holy Spirit of the Virgin Mary, and was made man, and was crucified also for us under Pontius Pilate. He suffered and was buried, and the third day he rose again according to the Scriptures, and ascended into heaven, and sits at the right hand of the Father. And he will come again with glory to judge both the living and the dead, whose kingdom will have no end. And I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord and giver of life, who proceeds from the Father and the Son, who with the Father and the Son together is worshipped and glorified, who spoke by the prophets. And I believe in one holy Christian and apostolic church. I acknowledge one baptism for the remission of sins, and I look for the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. Amen. That was a Nicene Creed.
Sean,
That is what we believe.
That was really incredible for you to have come up with that all by yourself. And written it down. I mean, we should.
Well, it came from the heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You know.
Yeah, we should write that down and say it in our churches or something. You know.
Yeah.
Every Sunday. That would be really, really good. But that's what we believe, guys. Sawyer. And if you do not believe in God, Sawyer, I hope that you will give it some very, very meditative thought, introspection, and think about the fact that there is evil means that there is good. And if there is good, it has to come from somewhere. And that somewhere is God. And you need to flee to him. You need to run to him, because there is no good apart from him. And it is the only hope that you can have for your salvation in the life to come, and for good in this life here. So Sawyer, I hope that you take that to heart. Yellow Moss says, I'm wearing my WWJD bracelet right now. Yeah, I had one of those when I was in high school. I mean, it was ubiquitous.
What would JD Hall do?
Wait, what? JD Hall? Other Paul says Jay's coal post. Yeah, that was bad. Yellow Moss says, wow, Sean, that's very thorough. Did you just make that up right now? Yeah.
I did actually. This morning at church, I stood up to say it, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, every single other person in the church recited it word for word at the same time. So
wow, amazing.
It's inspiring.
And some people think that the gifts have ceased. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The other Paul says, one holy Christian and apostolic church. Don't drop the Catholic, you evangeli.
I didn't drop Catholic. I translated it. Okay, Catholic is a Greek word.
Yeah, and it just means universal.
Actually, I was reading it out of the Book of Concord. So, because I was looking it up, and different, like the Catholic one has different wording. It was weird. We don't all agree on the English translation of exactly. Yeah,
he says, just keep Catholic. Don't let the papists claim it.
Okay, why don't I just recite the entire thing in Greek? Huh? Paul, would that make you happy? Huh?
Well, it would make Paul happy if you recited the whole thing in Greek. So don't go there, because he'll just say yes.
Next week, I'll go for it. It'll take me like 5 times as long, but I'll go for it.
All right. Well, to get into tonight's topic, now that we've been going for an hour, and we'll try and make this quick because we do have an after show, a big after show. And he says, yes, and I've done it on recording. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I don't do Greek, so I couldn't do that. But maybe I'll recite it in Yiddish. Yeah, we'll recite it in the original.
Good night,
the
everyone.
original
See
Aramaic.
you next week.
All right, but here is I wanted to play the intro to this video because it definitely helps kind of set up some of the things that we're going to talk about. And there are some things he says in this video that are not accurate, and I want to get to those right off the bat. First off, I want to bring attention to the fact that he still wears that stupid key necklace that he started wearing when he was working at the Daily Wire. This man that you see before you is not a Christian. All right. And I do not say that lightly. This man promotes sodomy and homosexuality. He is not actually really opposed to abortion, and he calls himself the God King. And that key that he wears as a necklace around his neck has to do with that moniker that he has adopted for himself. So this is not a good man. This is not a good person. But let's hear what he has to say, his intro to this video, and why he's saying it.
Last week, at a church conference in Ogden, Utah, a well-known neo-Nazi publishing house called Antelope Hill had a vendor table selling, promoting their books and literature. Some of the material displayed included the essential speeches of Adolf Hitler, an SS memoir. I was going to make a joke right there, and I just thought, you can't interrupt a monologue to make a joke about the collected works of Adolf Hitler. Light, airy summer reading. An SS memoir called Burning Souls, a handout recommending websites selling the Turner Diaries, which are kind of some of the most well-known neo-Nazi literature in the country, and a novel by an American neo-Nazi that inspired the Oklahoma City bombing, alongside swastika jewelry and a book endorsing a pagan Nazi religion called cosmotheism. They're a great follow on X. Actually, too, they started hitting me on X in anticipation of this. I didn't know they existed. We wrote the monologue, and you hear a word, and then suddenly the word starts appearing everywhere. Like, oh, cosmotheism, this is a really interesting concept, and then you're being attacked online by cosmotheism. So, thanks, guys. Cosmotheism worships nature and places the Aryan race at the top of the natural order. The organizers named their conference, unironically, The War for Normal. The conference was organized through a publishing outfit called New Christendom Press, and hosted by two Reformed pastors of a church there in Utah. When the Antelope Hill story first broke, one of those pastors, I asked before how to say this guy's name. I hate to mispronounce the names. Brian Sauve, said in response that he, quote, didn't have a problem with Antelope Hill's publications. The other pastor, Eric Conn, posted a musical montage video celebrating White Boy Summer to his X account that same evening, featuring images of a Sieg Heil, the Hitler Youth, the founder of America's Nazi Party, and an elderly SS officer, confirming that Adolf Hitler was, quote, 100% his hero. Doug Wilson, one of the most prominent Christian nationalists in the country, asked, why did Antelope Hill think there was a healthy market for their books at this conference? Why, indeed. One of the more prominent and vocal defenders of the conference and of Antelope Hill is Joel Webbon, another pastor and founder of a media company called New Christian Right. This week, Webbon posted a photo of himself with Tucker Carlson and his friend J.D. Hall, with whom Webbon traveled to Tucker's studio for Hall's 100-minute episode, discussing with Tucker, quote, the corrupting lie of Christian Zionism. In the interview with Tucker, Hall called Israel, quote, a desert war cult. It's sketchy. Said Muslims are, quote, quite fond of Jesus, and blamed Christian-Muslim tension on, quote, Jewish talking points on the news. Yesterday, Webbon's own organization, New Christian Right, posted about Israel, quote, they killed the prophets, they killed the Lord Jesus. Paul calls them the enemies of all mankind. Now they're trying to sabotage a peace deal in the Middle East. Why do we partner with them? Webbon himself posted in reply to his own tweet, what fellowship does light have with darkness? The same week that, say his name again?
Brian Sauve.
Sauve.
Yeah.
We really should have spelled it that way in the prompter. The same week that Brian Sauve's publishing house hosted a conference where Antelope Hill felt welcome enough to sell Hitler's speeches, Webbon was sitting in Tucker's studio with J.D. Hall, who was making a case that Christians should reconsider their relationship with the Jews and cozy up to Islam instead. These aren't unrelated events, and this didn't come out of nowhere. It's the visible surface of a years-long infiltration of neo-Nazi and white supremacist ideology into Christian nationalist spaces, driven by specific teachers, amplified by a tight-knit internet community, and enabled by an institutional cowardice that names woke leftism but refuses to name the wolves in its own flank. But not everyone is afraid to name the wolves. I have three people here with me who've been doing just that. Jon Harris is the host of Conversations That Matter. He's been tracking this pipeline for years. Will Spencer, a former Manosphere influencer who went to the very edge of the online neo-Nazi world, walked away, and now writes about his radicalization and about how this radicalization captures particularly young men. And for the first time publicly, Ethan Hanson, who has been anonymously exposing these people on X for years under the excellent account Hitler Hated Christ, and who has decided to make himself known and for some reason, lack of good sense or decency, chose the Jeremy Boring Show as the venue. You do meticulous research, debunking memes, disinformation, historical revisionism, online neo-Nazis used to deceive and recruit, and we're very glad that you're here, not in an anonymous way, but as yourself. Thanks for being with us.
So first off, that intro, a lot of things said. First off, I wanted to get to the hype video, the White Boy Summer video, in which an elderly SS officer, that was not an elderly SS officer, that was an old man who was a simple soldier in the Bundesheer. He was in the Wehrmacht, just a soldier, not an SS officer. And he was doing so in uniform, actually. And also, that is just a picture of a man on the ground, not, the elites, not the picked men. It was just a man carrying a gun, fighting on the Eastern Front. But also, I wanted to get to the allegations about Antelope Hill. Antelope Hill is not a neo-Nazi publishing house. All right. Antelope Hill is a secular publishing house that publishes both positive and negative books about the Third Reich, about mid century Germany. They obviously, most of them have a perspective. Everybody at that publishing house, I'm sure, has a perspective about the history of what happened and where they fall, their opinions about how things should have gone and who was in the right and who was in the wrong, as everybody has a right to do. But they are not a neo-Nazi publishing house. They are simply a publishing house that is willing to publish books that other people are not willing to sell. And when it comes to people alleging that, well, they were selling Hitler speeches, publishing houses sell books that sell. Okay, I don't know if you guys know how this works, but there's this thing called supply and demand. And if there's a demand, then the supply will appear, okay? People want to read Hitler in his own words. That's why his book, My Struggle, Mein Kampf, is a bestseller. People buy this book and read it in college when they're studying the period. And I have been at a conference before where I was selling books for a friend of mine who has a publishing house, link in the description, Western Front Books. And one of those books was about Hitler. And it was neither a positive nor a negative view. It was simply a pragmatic view of the man, his history, where he came from, and what he did. And that was our best-selling book that weekend, that Labor Day weekend that we were selling books that year. That was the best-selling book because people want to know, because it is such a moment in time that it defines who we are today. If you want to know who you are, know where you came from. That is such a galvanizing moment in our personal history that people are curious about it. And that's not a bad thing. So as far as him alleging that this was a neo-Nazi organization, Eric Conn and Brian Sauve had a response video from their podcast, King's Hall, where they addressed the allegations, which were made before this video was recorded or aired by Mr. Boring. And they did a very good job of addressing people's concerns. And I would recommend that y'all go look it up and watch it there if you want to know their perspective. They are not Nazis. They are not neo-Nazis. They believe that certain things have been mischaracterized, but they are not under any illusions that Hitler was secretly some Christian prince that we should follow. That is their own position as they express it. And as far as the promotion of a false religion, this very bizarre religion that was referenced, they mentioned the fact that this was not something promoted at the table, but it was something that Antelope Hill does sell a book that discusses this religion and does promote it, but that was not present at the conference in any way, shape, or form. It is just something in their catalog. So they were not promoting false religions at a Christian conference. That is a lie. That is a lie.
See, I didn't even know that. Like I knew the controversy about some of the crazy things that they sell, but I didn't know that they specifically didn't even have that at the table. They were just looking into their website and saying, well, let's look at every single thing that they sell. And that's obviously what they stand for.
Mm-hmm. And what did go around on Twitter also, and we discussed this a little bit on the last show, was a card that they just had on their table of, here are some other pro-white businesses. You're allowed to have signs up that say, hey, these are the newest selections from black-owned businesses, but I guess you're not allowed to do the same for white-owned businesses. And some of those businesses were good, and some of them were not as good. But, it was, as Eric and Brian mentioned, that was not part of the contract. They talked to Antelope Hill after the conference and said, hey, naughty, you are not supposed to be promoting other things that have not been approved. You are here on your own, of your own merit. You are promoting your own products and nothing more. You can't just bring other third parties into this that are not a party to this contract. And that was a slight oversight and actually not a big deal, guys. Get over it.
Can I also note, and they mentioned this, and they put out a video, the two of them, that was essentially like their response to the accusations, right? I didn't realize how much it was. It's these two pastors at the helm, and they're only in like the third or fourth year of this conference, and
fourth. Mm-hmm.
Fourth, and it has just grown exponentially, and so they are in the growing pains of this whole thing, and they were looking back on the whole situation and saying like, well, we really we could have handled that differently. We're growing. We didn't realize we had to so meticulously look into exactly what's at everyone's booth and all that kind of stuff, because they have a ton of vendors at this conference. So it's so crazy what people have done with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I also want to point out in that first bit, we have known who is behind the account Hitler Hated Christ for like a year or something. Like, we've known who this guy is for a long time. He didn't just come out from the shadows and everyone's like, oh, I had no idea. Like, people have posted his name, who his girlfriend is. Like, there's been a whole thing.
Now wife. They're married now.
Oh, now wife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was exposed like, oh, okay, he's in a mixed race marriage. That's what's going on. Like, there was a whole thing going on with that like a year ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of Jeremy Boring is bringing this brave man out from the closet. Like, no, he's been out of the closet for some time now. Like, this isn't.
Yeah, I mean, we've known his name. We know what he looks like. He shaved the gay mustache, which, good on you, man. Not everybody can pull off a mustache. But he. I mean, we've known who he is. We've known who he is. His wife is. I mean, some people even know his address. It's not hard to find. And this is not a guy self-doxing to the internet. This is a guy who is known, who is now coming out. And another thing I wanted to say too is people are talking about his physiognomy. I mean, he's very much a nerdy intellectual type. And what can you read into that? I mean, he's very Jewish, and that probably has something to do with his perspectives on World War II. You can't take that. I mean, you have to take things like that into consideration. Now, as far as people saying he's ugly, I mean, the guy's not ugly. I mean, he's a very handsome, but intellectual FM kind of handsome. He is not, lifting weights, and he's not a man's man. So for the people who are saying, oh, he's so ugly, I can't believe, ugly is as ugly says, maybe work on your material a little bit. You're not being funny, you're not being clever. Leave the guy's looks alone. He's just a normal guy. But he is very FM, and that does have something to do with it. As far as the other two people that were mentioned, I mean, Jon Harris, I have to admit that Jon Harris is very, very handsome, because he and I, as many people have pointed out, are strikingly very similar in appearance. So by virtue of that, he is the most handsome man on the panel. And then Will Spencer, who is the cone head. When we discussed him, you can find the cone head on our thumbnail, because that was a swipe at his appearance. But I mean, these, with the exception of Mr. Harris, these are not serious people. Will Spencer.
You know what? Let me say one thing about Will Spencer, though, because Will Spencer, back when he had his, I think he's got like a new Twitter handle and all that, right? I think he's now at like Will Spencer, because he used to be like Raining Men or something like that. Like,
yeah, it was very bizarre.
Thing. Yeah. And his whole thing was like, I'm a masculinity guy and all this. Well, if you're going to set yourself up like that, like, you're going under the microscope, dude, because you are your advertisement for what you have to say about masculinity or whatever it is, right? Like, his whole thing was like, I'm like a modern day Indiana Jones. Like he had like this whole bucket
While you
list.
were starting a family, I was studying
Yeah.
the blade in foreign countries.
Yeah.
And that is, guys, I am
And he
not
had, like,
saying that to make fun of him. That was his post.
he had a picture of himself in like this pose with like a sword. He's like, "Ooh, look at me, I got a sword." Like that's cool, bro. But anyways, he of all people, he deserves the scrutiny, right? I don't think Hitler hated Christ was going around talking about masculinity or whatever. His whole thing was you're not technically correct about this date or whatever thing that he would do. He tried to follow me at one point. I was like, instant block. Yeah, right. But yeah, Jon Harris also does not try to go out. It reminds me of, I remember our buddy Ben, who's been on the show. He was talking about a guy who was like a podcaster type guy, and he was going around talking about masculinity and whatever, and like showing his lifts, right? Like he was like, oh man, this was my max, or this is my new PR I hit today, and it was like a squat PR. And I don't remember the number, but Ben was like, dude, that's an amateur lift. Now, is it more than I can lift? I would guarantee it, but he was saying like that's not like a professional. He was basically saying like I could lift a lot more than that. Why would I listen to this guy as the go and lift weights and eat lots of meat? Like, why would I listen to that guy? That's Ben talking. Like I'll listen to whoever. I don't need you to be absolute stud to listen to you. Anyways,
Yeah, but if you're selling yourself as that, you better have your ducks in a row.
Right.
And Will Spencer does not.
Right. I challenge Will Spencer to the blade. We will cross swords and yes.
Literally, not metaphorically.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just to start out, I mean, first off, this Jon Harris, by the way, he retweeted when this episode dropped. And he says, "I went on this show without knowing what the subject was. This will be interesting." Those are his words. And I feel like that was kind of a way of him getting out ahead of it and being like, guys, they said a lot of things that I didn't necessarily agree with. Which, John, you should have just said that. Okay. I wish you would have pushed back a little harder against these guys who were slandering your brothers in Christ in your presence. It is a violation of the 9th commandment, according to Presbyterian theology. It is a slandering of your brothers, and allowing that to happen in your presence is a violation of the 9th commandment. You did not do sufficient work to stand up for the good name of your neighbor, as you are supposed to, by the Westminster standards. Now, with that said,
is he Presbyterian now? He was Baptist.
Is he Baptist? Well, Baptist.
He was
is
like
just
Southern Baptist. That was his.
Yeah, 1689 is just based.
Don't
off
go
of
there.
Westminster
Come on.
standards.
Let's not. Nah. Moving on.
But this is. I'm not trying to hold him to a standard that he doesn't believe. I think that this is fair. You should have done more to protect your neighbor's good name. With that said, I mean, this was not an episode where there was not pushback. He did push back, especially early in the episode. Jeremy Boring says, well, the United States is it's not an ethnic nation like many nations. It's actually a creedal nation. And Harris immediately jumped on that and said, no, it is not. We are not a creedal people. The men who founded our nation saw themselves as Englishmen. They stood up for the rights of Englishmen. It's to us and our posterity. It is not supposed to be everybody's just got a ticket to come here. Everybody's an American. They just haven't got here yet. So he did a good job about pushing back against some of that. But I wished he would have done more. But also featured heavily in this is the reference to J.D. Hall in this intro, how J.D. Hall went on to Tucker, and he was pro-Islam. He was saying all these nice things about Islam, and J.D. Hall has talked about this before, and he has talked about it since. Islam is not a friend to Christianity. It never has been, and the people who are trying to make it such are doing so to their own peril. And J.D. Hall was not saying that Islam is friendly toward Christianity. He was just pointing out what we pointed out at the opening of this show, that the Christian holy sites and the Christian people were largely left alone by the Muslim occupiers of those lands. Whereas when the Jews took over, that did not remain the case. And here is a little bit of a tweet where he kind of references that. Jackie Chia, who is, I guess, some lawyer or judge or something, conservative Christian blogger, fair and biased blog, stay-at-home mom. Maybe you should stay at home a little.
Yeah.
Stay at home a little harder, okay?
Yeah.
But she says, how often do we have to hear the Jews killed Christ? Well, if you're reading your Bible, you're going to hear it because that's where we got it from. Joel Webbon posted it on his platform, but Ethan Hanson explains that blaming the Jews is simply a denial of moral accountability. Quote, you don't have to deal with your own sin if you can blame it on the Jews. And I'm not going to play this because it's dumb and boring.
Do you want to take this one or do you want me to hear my rant on this?
Go ahead, rant, and then we'll get to JD Hall's response.
Okay. I had to double check myself in the chat the other day on this because I was saying, like, does the Bible say anywhere that our sin killed Christ? Now, I know we had said, like, he was pierced for our transgressions, etc., right? So the purpose for God sending his son and for Christ accepting that the will of the Father in that regard was to die for the sins of the world. Now we can quibble about what the world means, but the sins of the world is the technical language the Bible uses, right? So I get that, but they speak as if what the Bible says is, ooh, that one time that I Googled that lifted up Christ on the cross, and that's why Christ was crucified. That is not true. That is not the way that the Bible talks about the culpability that the Jews as a people have on us and our children, as the Jews curse themselves and say explicitly, please blame us and our children. After Pilate is like, look, I tried, guys. I washed my hands. Now we can quibble about whether or not he was actually able to wash his hands. Joel Webbon says he was not able to. Okay. But the point is, there is a unique culpability that many writers in the New Testament put on the Jewish people. So that doesn't exist for the Romans, right? That's why the meme is always like, oh man, what's a good example of it where people will say like, oh, or they'll say like, oh, a missile came from this area in the Middle East, and like, who do you think sent it? And they just say the Romans.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the joke, right? Oh, the Romans did it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Who founded the institution of pornography in the United States? Oh, it's definitely the Romans. The Romans.
Yeah, the Romans. Yeah, exactly. So that's my point. Is you've probably seen the list. I've double and triple checked that list, by the way. Like, there is no equivalent to the huge list of who is responsible for the death of Jesus. Now I understand he took on human flesh and was crucified, died, was buried.
No one takes my life away from me, but I lay it down of my own accord.
Understand all that. We're talking about like oh my goodness, dude. I don't know if other people have this experience. I did not previously have this experience as a Baptist, but because of the liturgical nature of Lutheranism, every single year I go through this. So during Holy Week, like, there is a specific Good Friday service. I want to say it's the only time of year where the pastor wears this awesome black, whatever it is. My pastor's a big boy, so he wears like a whole bed sheet type thing. But it looks dope. Like, there you go. That's it right there. Like,
days full of pelpins.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. They even, I mean, I could talk about the Good Friday service all day, but it's just so powerful because the whole thing, actually, I'm going to kind of show you what I mean by this. So the pastor, like, at the end of it, he basically reads the account of like the crucifixion and, you know, Jesus dies, and everyone walks out. Doesn't talk about the resurrection because it's Good Friday.
That's
right?
next
He
week.
literally does it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Finish the story. Boom. And it's loud too because it's a fat Bible. It's powerful, right? And so you're sitting there, you're like, for a whole day, for a whole service in particular, right? Like, you're taking communion while talking about the shedding of Christ's blood. Like, it's insane if you've never done it before. So I'm every year at that time of year, I'm just like focused, right? Because like I said, this is the liturgical nature of Lutheranism. All that to say, the narrative is very clear. We read the same narrative every single year, and you can't get away from it. It's hilarious to, like, you can almost kind of see people squirm a little bit when things like that, like, his blood be upon us and on our children. Or, you know, if you come across something, this is usually readings. No, this would be during Holy Week, where the phrase "for fear of the Jews" is used a lot, right?
Yeah,
like all the time.
Acts. Mhm.
Yeah, the apostles were hidden in the upper room for fear of the Jews, right? Like, yeah, yeah. Let me just shotgun the Jews at you. It's all very, very clear, and so this whole kind of switcheroo. Well, yeah, but what about your sin? Yeah, I know Christ died for my sins, the sins of the world. I get all that. We're talking about who handed him over to be crucified. The Jews. That's what the Bible says. That's what Jesus himself. It just talks about Jerusalem, the city that killed the prophets. Right. The blood of all of the good guys is at the feet of the Jews. According to Jesus, like, it's just I can't say enough about that. So that's the end of my rant. Off the soapbox. You can say what you want to say.
So for those of you saying, oh, well, you know, it's easy to focus on other people's sins rather than your own, that is the patent thing that you say about everything. If we're saying pornography should be illegal, oh, well, it's easy to talk about other people's sins instead of your own. I mean, that is such a gauche, stupid thing to say. No, we're focusing on the sins of the whole world. We're focusing on sins of our society. And our society, if you haven't noticed, is largely influenced by the Jews. So, yes, this is
one more thing on that. People love to say in the narrative, right? Like, oh, I was the one throwing rocks at Jesus, and I was the one whipping him, and I was the one who lifted him up on the cross and all that stuff. That is not true. That is not every single human being on earth in history is not the person that did all that. Peter didn't do that. He had his own thing that he did that was not good by denying Christ and running away because a little girl called him out, right? Like, that's not good, right? I understand that the Apostle John falls asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane. Not great, right? That's not a good thing, but he didn't deliver Jesus over to be crucified. In fact, the Apostle John in particular was at the feet of Christ as he was being crucified the entire time. And we know that because he was taking care of Jesus' mother. So this whole idea of, oh, everyone betrayed Christ and everyone handed him over and everyone drove the nails into his hands. That's not true. That's not even true of the people in the narrative. Stop saying that. You would not have been the person spitting at Jesus. I hope that that's the case. I hope that you, like me, would imagine yourself being the guy that's like, I will volunteer to help him carry the cross, right? I hope that's where your mind is at, and that you're not like, you know what, if a little girl asked me if I was going to follow Jesus, I'd probably run away too. You are not Peter. That is like such a, it's such a
you are not David.
Yeah, it's so exaggerated to know that it's a little girl a little girl says, "Hey, you're one of his disciples, right?" And Big Pete, that's like his whole identity. He's the big dude, right? He's
with the sword
blue liner. Yeah, he's the 7-foot blue liner that the Sharks just drafted with the sword. Yeah, cutting ears off and all that. The little girl comes up and he runs away. But like I was saying, the Apostle John didn't do that. He was faithful to the end and beyond. So this whole, I'm just tired of it.
And for that, he was rewarded the trust and care of Jesus's mother.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of reminded me of this. I love stories of pagan converts to Christianity during the Dark Ages because most often these warrior kings and chieftains would listen to the story of Christ's crucifixion without missing a beat. They'd be like, if I was there with my boys, we would have saved him. He's a little confused, but he's got the right spirit. And somebody just posts the quote. Clovis was very earnest and fervent convert. One day the Bishop of Rheims, while instructing him in the doctrines of Christianity, described the death of Christ. As the bishop proceeded, Clovis became much excited and at last jumped up from his seat and exclaimed, "Had I been there with my brave Franks, I would have avenged his wrongs." That's right. That's right. That's the spirit. And I take him at his word. I absolutely take him at his word. They were not like the people who were there that day who did crucify our Lord, who by the hands of evil men crucified our Lord. But this is JD's response, and I thought it bore reading out. It's not super lengthy, so I'll read it. JD, this is a good point. I want to sincerely recant for saying that on Tucker. I probably misread Acts 3:15. That's on me. Looking back through the lens of this deep spiritual insight obtained on the Jerry Boring program, I can't believe that I, Peter, Paul, Stephen, and the Jews themselves, all who said very explicitly the Jews killed Jesus, were denying our own moral accountability. Shame on us, especially Jesus, who accused the Jews in advance. John 8:44. He should have known better. Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Accuse the Jews in advance. That's freaking hilarious, man.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what happened.
JD is a wordsmith, man. Even when I was in my I don't
everything
like
Doug Wilson
phase,
wished he was.
Yeah. Even when I was in my I don't care for this guy phase, which I'm not anymore, but even then I was like, man, that dude can write a sentence. Like, that's funny, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then this is just a little sideswipe at John. And John, I just want to say, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Please take this to heart. But Jeremy Boring publishes his video. And then Evangelical Darkweb says, it's insane how much Jon Harris has fallen off. And Logan Ramsey retweets this and says, did Jon Harris change his views or did you guys? And Papa Alpaca says, Harris did, and that is obvious. And here's a screenshot. Jon Harris, let me make something clear. People who claim to be on the right but sniff out the racists or misogynists at every opportunity, even doing public damage to those with unrelated motives, are liabilities. I won't work with them. They do not understand the battle we're in. Well, John, by going on their show, I don't know what you would call that other than working with them. But that's exactly what's going on. John, you are the one who has changed.
Come home, John. Come home. Come home, John.
Mm-hmm. And in the description of this video, I called John a neo-confederate. And I did that intentionally. I do not claim the mantle of neo-confederate. I believe that I am a Confederate. There is nothing neo about my Confederacy. I believe the things that my fathers believed. They are born in me. I bear their blood and their witness to the world around me. John is a neo-Confederate. And a neo-Confederate, as I would define it, is somebody who likes the Confederacy, but at the end of the day, he thinks that, well, the war wasn't actually about slavery. It was just all about slaves' rights. Or all about state rights, right? These kind of people. People who try to put a soft edge on it. That is what I define as a neo-Confederate. And John, you need to become consistent in your outlook.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if John wouldn't say that he's like, yeah, my ancestors were Confederates and you know, they were good people, but I'm glad they lost. I'm sure he would probably say that at this point in his career, because that's what his online presence has become. You know, once once you kind of cross that line where you're like, I'm going to make it big and I'm going to make a name for myself. I would love to hear what he has to say about that. Like, are you glad that the North won that war? I would be curious to hear an answer on that. I mean, he doesn't owe me an answer, but I'm curious.
And the other person that was mentioned in that opening and throughout the show was Joel Webbon. Now, Joel Webbon is a personal friend of mine. I know him. I've been to his church multiple times, and I like him. I don't agree with him on everything, but I don't agree with myself on everything. So, you know what? Joel has my stamp of approval. But Britta, which is, I believe this is Michael Knowles' wife, if I'm not mistaken, just tweets out, Joel Webbon claiming Jeremy Boring's entire episode was about him, skull and crossbones.
Yeah.
You know, oh, dead. Haha.
Yeah,
so funny.
I'm dead. Oh.
Yeah, and then here's just a screenshot of Joel saying, why would they do a 2-hour podcast on little old me? And of course, this is being said tongue-in-cheek. But his response, I'm in the thumbnail. Got him.
Masterclass. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. This is what in basketball we call a layup. All right, this was easy. This was so easy, and people in the comments just,
Nice ratio, yeah.
Yeah, and the ratio is 1.7 thousand to 148.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness!
So
how many views did her post have?
23,000.
Oh my goodness! That's such an insane ratio there. That's a ratio initially, man, but like 23,000 people saw this post, and like 148 people were like, good enough. Click. Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wish I had that kind of eyes on my tweets. I think I'd be doing a lot better than I am.
Oh, I've had a couple this week.
Yeah, some of those were pretty excellent.
Man.
Yeah, but moving right along. My tweet, Christian, your adversaries are liars. Expect them to lie about you. And this is a clip from the show. This was put out from Joel Webbon, this edit. And it speaks for itself.
I had a conversation with a guy one time about this, and he was using as proof text Pilate washing his hands of saying that the Jews had a higher accountability. And I said, do you think that he successfully washed his hands of that? Like, when you read that, do you read, oh yeah, I'm Pilate. I'm the guy that said, it doesn't matter to me, not me, buddy.
Sorted.
That's when the theological angle of this becomes so real, is how easy it is to undermine the biblical truth of the gospel subtly, right? And most of the people that push this stuff don't have that conversation on that level. Joel Webbon won't have that conversation on that level.
2 weeks earlier,
Pilate washed his hands of the guilt, right? And God saw that and it worked. No. He knew that Jesus was innocent. And the fact that he knew so vividly, his wife even having a dream, and the fact that his conscience was so torn, that he was so knowledgeable of the innocence of Christ, and that he felt it necessary to put on this performance in front of the people of, it's not my fault. Not only did it not absolve him of guilt, it further indicted him. The washing of hands was actually proof positive evidence of his knowledge of the innocence of Christ, and therefore that greater degree of knowledge of Christ's innocence indicts him all the more.
Joel Webbon wouldn't have that conversation at that level.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, he did.
Amazing that God's providence had him preaching on this text. That's so insane to me that it just happened to work out that way. 2 weeks. Man.
Yep.
Crazy.
But like I said, Christian, your adversaries are liars. Expect them to lie about you. And, people in the comments, brother, he's not talking about Joel. This is a huge, giant, nothing burger. Dude, he literally said,
I had a
Joel
conversation
Webbon.
with a guy one time about this, and he had a higher Pilate. I'm the guy. How the ethical angle of this becomes so right, and most of the people that push this stuff don't have that conversation on that level. Joel Webbon won't have that conversation on that level.
Joel Webbon won't have that conversation on that level. Clifford, are you retarded?
Yeah.
Maximus, are you retarded? I mean, what is it that you do not understand about this? They literally said Joel Webbon wouldn't have that conversation on that level.
He also said something weird about, like, do you really think that Pilate thought that the Jews had the greater sin or something? Like, he said it like as a layup, because Jesus literally says that.
Mm-hmm.
The one who delivered me over as the greater sin. like that's literally the verbiage that Jesus used. So I don't know why. I guess that little seed of what was there. I don't know, man. I don't
And
know what to say to this.
Anyway, everyone's favorite Down syndrome intellectual, Waterboy, GM Wrench, says whether or not our guy was referring to Joel, or whether our guy was referring to Joel
HHC.
or not. In fact, it doesn't sound like it because he referenced a conversation. But the real problem is that the new right thinks Christians are their enemies. Get some thicker skin. And I just posted, Joel Webbon won't have that conversation on that level. Are you retarded? No need to answer. We already know. Yeah, I mean, this is straightforward. I mean, this guy... I mean,
somebody write
so
counterpoint $7,000.
Yeah, yeah. Joel Webbon, he specifically said my name. I'm at the point where if someone consistently treats me like an enemy, they're probably an enemy. Waterboy, I agree. He said your name, but it was obvious the first reference to Pilate washing his hands was not referring to you. He said Joel Webbon won't have that conversation on that level. Yeah. Dude, getting ratioed in the comments, as he should be. But, I mean, this is just so straightforward, so stupid, so dumb. So, what are we to take away from this? I mean, I think I summed it up well when I said, Christian, your adversaries are liars. Expect them to lie about you. If you are doing good things, you are going to be slandered by people who don't like you doing good things, either out of envy, if you are Canon Press, if you're Moscow, if you're Doug Wilson, you're going to be slandering these people out of envy because they are taking away the souls of the young men. You know, they are stealing away my audience because there's only a fixed sum. You know, people only listen to so and so much stuff. You can't have that. Or if you're people like Jeremy Boring, who do not want to see Christian morality in the United States because it would outlaw sodomy. These people are going to hate you, and they are going to slander you. They are going to lie about you, and they're going to do everything they can. They will bloody their knives at the first opportunity because they hate what is good. And if you are a disciple of Christ, do not expect to be treated better than Christ was. Okay? Plato talked about if the perfect man ever came, then he would be scourged, he would be hated, he would be laughed at, and eventually he would be crucified. And that is exactly what happened. Christ came, he was hated because he spoke the truth, and eventually he was crucified. Do not expect to be treated any better. Your life as a Christian, as a white Christian man in the world today, you are a follower of Christ, and you will be treated as he was treated. You will be hated. You will be mocked. You will be flogged. And if you are lucky, you will be crucified as he was. Don't expect anything less. But ultimately, we need to have the attitude that Ogden had about this. Brian Sauve tweeted out his response with a link to his video, and he said, "This is my first and final response. I will not be giving this any more thought or attention." And that is appropriate. If you have good things to do, you need to get them done. And the people who are just trying to destroy you, they would love nothing better for you to derail what you're doing, stop, and defend yourself against these false accusations. Joel Webbon does not have time to hunt down every false accusation about him. Why? Because he's a pastor. And he has pastoral ministry to the people in his care. He also has a talk radio program, a podcast, very popular. And it takes a lot of work to produce and send that out, full of historical and theological content that is edifying for the brothers. He does not have the time to stop and address every accusation, every false accusation online. He can't do it. And he shouldn't do it because he's a busy man, because he's a good man doing good work. So leave him alone. Let him do his thing. And guys, if you hear people slandering your brothers in your presence, you should just say, I will not stand for this. I will not allow you to do this in my presence. And if you need to, walk off the stage. End the conversation. Because that's what a Christian does. Because a Christian does not allow his brother to be slandered in his own presence. Sean.
I did have something to say. Gabe's tweet where he's talking about, oh, their enemies are Christians, right? How about your enemies are Christians? That has been what I've been saying for months now, is all of these people like you, Gabe Wrench, are trying to get kicked out of their churches so that they do not have access to the means of grace. Why are you doing that? We are Christians and you are getting us kicked out of churches. I say us is like the royal us.
The royal we. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's insane that they would say, oh, these people's enemies are Christians. Like all these people are trying, the Stone Choir podcast has on that. I know Woe has brought this up on that podcast where they are responsible. I know it's not humble to mention it, but it very, very likely is true. They're responsible for much of the growth that the LCMS has seen. The LCMS, which kicked both of those guys out of the denomination, excommunicated them without a trial or anything. Luther got more than that. So it's just all these guys like Gabe Wrench, they're kicking people out, not because those people can't quote or at least read and affirm the Nicene Creed that I read earlier, or the Athanasian Creed, which is like 1,000,000 times longer, or other things that, when I read that from the Book of Concord there, that is part of our confession. Like that is the first couple parts of the confession is these creeds, which is cool that it says it explicitly. I mean, I know it's implicit with every denomination, but it's cool that it starts with that. Like before we get into our specific things, here's the ecumenical creeds. They're not kicking them out for that. They're kicking them out for racism. Is that what it is? It's never even clearly defined. What Zach Garris got defrocked for, insane. Oh, you said that Black Doctor Man was arrogant or something like that. That's too far. I don't know what more could be said about that, man. They claim that our enemies are Christians, but if you kick a Christian out of the church, what are you other than that Christian's enemy? How would you like to be perceived in that manner? That you're the guy with the belt given a spanking? Is that, that's the best construction I could put on that, is that's who they think that they are. They're never trying to reconcile with these people that they're kicking out of the churches. If they were, they would give a defense for kicking them out of the church so that person could have something to chew on while they're outside of the church. And then, if you make a decent argument, and oh yeah, I guess I'll come back to the church now. You were right. Let's be reconciled. They never actually go for reconciliation. You can't say that our side doesn't go for reconciliation when we're not the people kicking people out of the church.
Well, forgiveness is not a Judeo-Christian virtue.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I mean, that says it all.
Mm-hmm. Forgiveness is a uniquely Christian virtue, and these people are not uniquely Christian. That's where this comes from. The Talmud does not believe in forgiveness. And modern people who are not Christians do not believe in forgiveness. They do not believe in redemption. They simply believe in hate. Oh, you disagree with me? Then you must hate me, and therefore I hate you. Oh, you said that? You're anti-Semitic. Oh, you believe that? You're racist. Oh, you're a misogynist. There is never forgiveness for anyone. Notice, if somebody says the N-word, right? There's never forgiveness for something like that. You can't ever come back from that. You can only hope that people forget, right? If you say the N-word on a podcast, what are you? You are hated. People don't bring you in and say, hey, man, that was unkind. I wish you'd repent of that. No, it's you must apologize infinitely, and your name is mud, and you can never come on here again. We will dox you. We will kill you. We will attack you at a courthouse and hope to kill you. Christianity is the only religion that believes in forgiveness and redemption. And when you use a modifier at the beginning of that, Judeo-Christianity, you have perverted that religion to the point where it is no longer Christianity. I'm looking at you, Moscow. I'm looking at you, Jeremy Boring. Now, Moscow does believe in repentance and forgiveness, but only selectively because they are inconsistent. I believe that they are brothers, but they are brothers with some very crucial, problematic mistakes. But people like Jeremy Boring, that is not a Christian. He does not believe the things that Christianity demands that you believe. And when our guys, like Jon Harris, work with people like Jeremy Boring, who has made it his job in this episode to destroy Christians for promoting Christian nationalism, for promoting a movement that wants to make America a Christian nation once more. That is what Christian nationalism means, guys. I want America to be Christian. When Jeremy Boring comes out and sets his sights on destroying the men who are trying to make that happen, and you sit in his studio and you become a party to what he is doing, you are not being a good Christian brother. And for that, you need to repent. All right, let's close out with some comments here. The other Paul says, oh no, not white boy summer. The Goyim can't have that. Yeah. Oh no, I'm turning into a mermaid. Yeah, no. You can't do that, guys. Bad boy, down. Yeah, so funny. The white boy edits will continue until morale improves. Yellow Moss says, I like how he makes a big deal about mispronouncing names and then purposefully mispronounces it the whole show. That is ironic coming from a guy whose name is Boring. I'll leave it at that. Yellow Moth, is anyone surprised that Ethan Hanson looks like that? No, I mean, like Sean did earlier, the whole actually, he is the embodiment of that meme. Well, actually,
he has the it's not just physiognomy, it's mannerisms, right? Like he does the thing like the kid in that cartoon Recess from a long time ago when I was a young man. I think it was on one Saturday morning, but it's the kid with the notepad who's sitting there taking notes. Oh, I saw that you did something bad. Oh no. That's what that is. He's a note taker. He's going to tell the teacher that you did a naughty, and you're gonna get in trouble.
Everybody knows that kid.
Yeah. That's who he is.
Check for Tunnels says, wait, the showbiz Jew lied? No, he would never do that. No.
Mild shock.
Yeah, mild shock. The other Paul says, Jon Harris is a hottie. Moving on. Yellow Moss says, Jon Harris is so handsome. How is it even possible? I feel like I'm catching strays here. Yellow Moss says, Will Spencer used to be Ren of Men. That's right.
Yeah, that's what I said. Raining Men. That's what it was.
It's supposed to be Renaissance of Men, but yeah, reigning men for sure.
I bet you that's why he changed it, because I kept calling him that. Raining Men did whatever, and then he goes and changes it. He's watching it right now. I know he is.
Yeah. Check for Settle says, no, in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That was me talking about crossing swords with Will Spencer. The Blade.
And Yellow Moss says Jon Harris is SBC or maybe ex-SBC. Yeah, I remember.
He was definitely SBC at one time.
He went to an SBC seminary, and that's where he kind of became famous, is because he wrote a book about how, hey guys, your professors are all gay race communists, and he had to release it pseudonymously.
You're thinking of his Confederate book.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
But,
that one he did pseudonymously.
Okay. But yeah.
He started doing basically like it was like as soon as he graduated, he started talking about his experiences there, and people like caught on, and then he was like, well, I'm about to make this my whole channel is doing this. And then as
soon as the Overton window moved too far.
Yeah. Then he was like, whoa, guys, don't go to the right of me.
Yeah, like Pop Alpaca pointed out, Jon Harris is the one who's changed his position, not us. Yellow Moth says, Pilate did it under duress. Left to his own devices, he wouldn't have done it. Yes, but I mean, you can't murder a man under duress and then be like, well, I mean, I was under duress. Yeah.
It's the trolley problem, man.
Yeah.
If you pull the lever, you save yourself, but if you don't, you crucify the Lord of Glory.
Yeah.
Do you pull it? Do you do it? No.
Yellow Moss says, also the damned are the people celebrating Jesus' crucifixion. The faithful are the ones who mourned it. Exactly right. And the people who still celebrate his crucifixion to this day out of hatred and envy and strife. Maybe it is envy after all.
Can I say something on this from a grammatical standpoint? I'm not picking on you, Yellow Moth, but this is one of my favorite things. When a name ends in S, right? It's the dreaded name that ends in S. What do you do with the apostrophe, right? My favorite thing to do, and this is the technical thing to do, is just do the apostrophe.
Yeah, Moses and S. Jesus get an apostrophe with no S. Yep.
Yeah, you can do that. It's actually considered to be the more reverential way of doing it. So maybe if Jon Harris gets, he gets an extra Jon Harris's extra S, but Jesus does not. That's like my favorite thing to do. That's my favorite way to do that. So if you were wondering, that is it would be Jesus and then the apostrophe. And then
when I was learning writing, my mother taught me from the Chicago Standard. And what she said was Jesus and Moses are the only special ones that get just the apostrophe. Everybody else gets apostrophe S. And then I said, well, what if, the person's name ends with an S, like a lot of Latin names do.
Yeah.
And she said, well, no, it's only Jesus and Moses. Now I have not double checked, but that has been the way that I have written ever since. And I learned that when I was like 6 years old. But yeah, Jesus's crucifixion is JESUS apostrophe crucifixion. And it's just a fun little tweak about English grammar that I enjoy writing that. Every time I put a possessive on Jesus's name, that's how I do it. Check for Tunnel says, I would have helped kill Christ is of the same vibe as I'm no different than any other sinner. It's an inverted boast. No, I'm the most humble. Yes, that is correct. And that's like,
Oh, it's like saying, you know, I know that gays and transgenders do a lot of really wicked things, but I also know what's in my own heart. That's what what's it? What is his name? The LCMS guy, mustache man with the LCMS. Not cool mustache man, but like mustache man that hates mustache man. Somebody in the comments knows who I'm talking about.
He's like the president?
Yeah, he's somebody high up. I can't think of his name. Anyways, that was like a thing that he had said was like, yeah, that's some really wicked stuff, but you should see what's in my own heart. Like what's in your own heart is worse than like pedophiles and stuff. That's kind of weird to say, dude.
Yeah,
like,
Matthew Harrison, I think.
There you go.
Was that him? Yeah, where he wrote about. Yeah, it was in the commentary, wasn't it? Well, it was, literally about pedophiles.
There was that, but then also like in a sermon that he was given, he was talking about. But anyways, that's what it is.
Not forget that in our own hearts we are just as sinful as pedophiles. Really?
Yeah.
Tattling on yourself, are you?
I will say one thing on what Check for Tunnels is saying here. Somebody told me this when I was like 19 years old, and it really stuck with me. They're mentioning that as you grow in the faith, you know, you're going to become sanctified more and more. So you're going to sin less. You know, you're going to you're just going to be living a better life, right? And so your sins that you see at that like highest of levels, you see as like, that's the worst thing I've done all year, right? And so, but because you're humble, you're like, I am the chief among sinners. Because when Paul says he's the chief among sinners, he means he murdered Christians, right? Mm-hmm. When you say it, you're just humble bragging. You're actually not being humble. You're trying to take a title you haven't earned, right?
Yeah. When Paul says it, he's saying he murdered Christians. When you say it, you're lying.
Okay? Yeah. You're just a liar. Shut up. Because you are not the chief of sinners. Yeah.
All right. Because there can't be two chiefs of sinners. Okay.
Right.
And Paul wrote the Bible, so it's not you. Yeah. You're not Paul.
Yeah. Somebody's got to be the Indian of sinners, right? There's the chief of sinners, and then there's the Indian of sinners, right?
Oh, yeah. We're all braves, no chiefs.
There you go. So I guess that's my point. Is like you see your worst sin as like, that guy did that. That's worse than my worst sin. And you can fall into that trap where you're looking at people who aren't as sanctified and they're struggling. Anyways.
Check for Tunnel says one might say a paleo-confederate. Yeah.
An American?
Yeah. In reference to a conversation he and I had earlier about the usage of the verb, the adjective paleo, what it means. Yeah. A paleo-confederate is, as I would say, a Confederate.
Yeah.
John C. Barstoon says, Jon Harris tolerated all the slander because he doesn't actually believe Webbon, Conn, Sauve, etc. are his brothers. And the dividing line is attitudes towards Jews. It shows what he truly worships. I hope you're wrong, but I can't contradict you. Yellow Moss says, it's truly shocking how denominational elites are acting. They get no benefit for attacking Christians who barely disagree with them. Yeah. I mean, it's this weird vibe of absolutism. You must believe what I believe, every jot and tittle. And it's unhealthy. But denominational elites have a brand to protect. And it is ultimately all about brand. You know, you can't say that because it affects my brand. You can't believe that because then people might think I think that. So ultimately, it is all self-serving. Check for Tunnel says it's clear as day that they don't have the number when the boomers are gone and they are lashing out in desperation. Yeah, we'll see what happens when the boomers die out. The right wing will be extremely right wing. It will not be Judeo-Christianity. It will be Christianity. The thing is, the boomers are also the voting bloc that's keeping very conservative in a lot of these southern states. So it's going to be a mixed bag when we lose them because we're going to lose a lot of right-wing voters and we're going to lose we're going to lose a lot of the Judeo nonsense, but with that, we're also going to see politics swing, I think, more leftward, and I'm not looking forward to that either. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yellow Moth, but if they were just cool and gracious about it, we would let them stay in power. Well, I mean, we can't really stop them. They're in power anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of live and let live on the extreme right. We're willing to coalition build with a lot of people that we disagree with, but they are not. And it goes back to the previous comment about it's about brand. Check for Tunnel says that Tattletale kid being in every cartoon like Magic School Bus is the happy merchant of our childhood. Yeah, it's like, how did everybody just, communicate telepathically across an entire civilization, across the entire world, where we all know the Tattletale's physiognomy? How did that happen? Dreamer says it's envy. Yeah, what if it is envy? What if it's...
It is. At this point, we don't even have to ask. We know what it is.
Yellow Moth getting defensive. Check for Tunnels, but do you still pronounce the extra S? I do. Jesus's crucifixion.
I have
I don't think I do. Jesus crucifixion. Jesus's crucifixion.
You know what's the worst one? When you're trying to say the plural of wasp. Like you're talking about going outside and killing a bunch of waspuses. Like I just go for it now because I heard a couple of black people say that like very pronounced, and I said I'm just going to do that from now. I'm not even going to try to struggle. I'm just going to say waspuses. Like people know what I'm saying, and it comes out a lot easier than wasps.
Yeah, I just say wasps. Yeah. Wasps is a hard word to say, actually. It never occurred to me before, but yeah, wasps.
You're performing better than I can, so I'll give you that.
Yellow Moth, my wife is an MLA editor. I'm an expert at tuning out grammar corrections. Yeah. And check for tunnels. Yeah, Matthew Harrison. Thank you. The other Paul, they definitely know they're losing the framing issue, hence the boring episode. But we still have a lot more in the arsenal, e.g. explicitly accusing them of promoting false worship because they do. Yeah. And that's one thing that I'm trying to drive at here is Boring is not a Christian and he is not promoting Christianity. He never was and he never has. His Christianity that he promotes has always been a sanitized Judeo-Christianity. And yeah, it's not what we are, and it never was. And he will always be hostile to that. He continues, this being with respect to those who are all for more religious freedoms against Christian nationalism. Yeah, if you've got people who are saying, oh no, what about religious freedom? What about religious freedom? Our country has always been Christian. It has always been explicitly Christian. And we don't need these other religions. As a matter of fact, they are detrimental to our entire society. It is not good for us to tolerate this kind of thing in our nation for two reasons. The first is because it creates a moral lapse in our own Christian society. What we tolerate will become mandatory. Okay. You started with tolerating abortion. Now you've got enshrined into law people with Bilderberg babies where they're getting women to, what do they call that when they have a woman get pregnant for them?
Surrogate?
Yeah, surrogate mothers who have written into contract that if at any time the parents of this surrogate child change their mind, they can force her to have an abortion. What you tolerate will become mandatory. If you tolerate sodomy, eventually the state will force you to let your child become transitioned and be sodomized in California against your will. What you tolerate will become mandatory. We cannot allow false religions in our country because then next thing you know, the government will say, oh, well, satanic displays are just as free as everybody else. You must allow the Church of Satan to have a display in your state capital. what you tolerate becomes mandatory, and we cannot tolerate false religion. It is immoral. God will punish us for it. God is not blind. We have a duty to stand up for that which is right. And if we do not do it, he will punish us for it. Let's see. All right. That looks like that's it on comments. Got nothing else going. But it is the last day of the month. So for our brother supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, first of all, I want to say a very sincere thank you to our Buy Me a Coffee supporters. Because of your support, this show will be funded for a whole year. And we really appreciate that. I mean, this is something that Sean and I do out of our own budgets, out of our play money. I mean, we are not Nepo babies. We have not inherited great sums of wealth. We are not rich. We are two working class men with blue collar jobs who just do this of a weekend to try and brighten your day and help you in the ways that we have been helped by those who went before us. So if you would like to become a supporter, we appreciate you. There are links in the description to buymeacoffee.com/for-future-generations. That is the best way to support this show, if you can do so financially. The other way that you can support this show, which we really appreciate, is like, comment, share. Share this with your based right-wing friends. Let as many people as you know that this is the show. We appreciate each and every one of you every night coming on, watching this show live, and we hope that this has been an encouragement to you. Guys, do not give up the fight. When you are lied about, when you are slandered, when you are attacked for what you believe, bear the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, because that is the nobler thing. It is nobler to bear the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. But folks, with that being said, it's late. It's time for you to go to bed. So get some rest. Tomorrow is a day that God has prepared good works for you to do. And if you are a supporter, if you are a brother or father supporter on our Buy Me a Coffee page, the after show begins right now, and we will see you there. And to the rest of you, we say farewell, God bless, and have a wonderful night.